My very own penguin pal? What will it look like? I know! Pen from Evangelion is my favorite! But he'll be real, right? Which will fill 2 slots on the team, and that's why Rowlet is the best bet for starter for this gen. Nuzlocke, you mean? Yeah, but I don't do the starter rule. I choose my own. I do usually pick water types, but I haven't been excited for a water starter since Piplup. Oh, damn. I forgot, I'm supposed to review something today. Well, gotta earn those fractions of dollars that I never get to see somehow. You want to stay around, go ahead. Stand. Oh, hi everyone. Welcome to another episode of Otaku Evolution. I'm Mike, Penguin Truth, and today we'll be taking a look at the phenomenon that is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Weekly Shonen Jump began serializing the very first part of Hirohiko Araki's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in 1987. The long-running series that revolves around the Joestar family and its offshoots is still being written today and is in its 8th incarnation with hundreds of chapters to its name. It spawned video games, drama CDs, endless merchandise, and a rabid fanbase. Most recently, it's been, and it's still being, animated into a TV series by David Production. There's even a live-action adaptation of the 4th part in production. Naturally, there's been animated versions that predate the new TV show, a series of OVAs that cover the most popular section of the manga, Part 3, or Stardust Crusaders. The strange thing about it, though, is that the earliest OVA episodes begin halfway or more through the story of Part 3, and then the later episodes took place from the beginning until that point. I can only imagine they wanted to get right to the main action as soon as possible with this, but they'd already cut so much from the plot. And so we find ourselves looking at the OVA from 2000 first, since it begins Part 3. 17-year-old high school student and delinquent-esque tough Jotaro Kujo has a problem. And not just that he's been locked up for getting into a fight, but that he remains locked up by choice, because he's convinced he's been possessed by an evil spirit. Well, he's kind of right. His grandfather and hero of the previous JoJo story, Joseph Joestar, reveals to him that the weird thing inhabiting him that he can control at will is called a stand. Something that more than just he has. Joseph reveals that both he and his traveling companion, Avdol, have stands, and the powers were activated by the awakening of the villain from Part 1 of JoJo's, Dio. Dio, formerly Dio Brando, was a menacing vampire whom Joseph's grandfather Jonathan Joestar fought and seemingly defeated. However, beheaded, Dio did the same to Jonathan and put his head on Jonathan's body. The ship they were fighting on sunk into the sea where Dio slumbered for many years until retrieved by treasure hunters. Now Dio is back to menace the world, and Joseph is determined to stop him. Jotaro eventually agrees to be recruited into this, as the only way for his mother's life, threatened by her own stand, to be saved is to put a final end to Dio. Jotaro, Joseph, and Avdol are joined by high school student Kakyoin, and later Jean-Paul Polnareff, who also have their own stands. Jotaro's is called Star Platinum and has great strength and precision. Joseph's is Hermit Purple, which makes prophetic pictures. Avdol's is Magician's Red, which controls flames. Kakyoin's is Hierophant Green, which uses tentacles. Polnareff's is Silver Chariot, which is a fencer. The group travels towards Egypt to find and destroy Dio, all the while confronted by his ally Stan users. Actually, Polnareff starts off as one of Dio's minions, whom they meet aboard a ship.
Bonjour, Monsieur Joestar. Greetings to your party.
Ah, you! Wait. Tell me, how is it you know about us?
A man with a birthmark shaped like this told me.
You're one of them. Joestar-san, look out! What? What?
My Stan's name is Silver Chariot. So, Avdol, it would appear that you are very anxious to die.
Speaking of the ship, it's a Stan in itself, created and controlled by, get this, an orangutan. A Stan using orangutan who smokes a pipe. He does a lot of other odd things that the OVA leaves out of the adaptation, but it's probably for the best. This opponent for the group is a good example of an unconventional Stan user, establishing that even properly intelligent beasts can also use Stans. Hey, this isn't called JoJo's Ordinary Adventure. What I enjoy most about this series is that while there's a lot of raw power in the Stans, it doesn't always come down to winning with sheer brute force. Some of Dio's subordinates are defeated by more clever means, with the group needing to show real creativity to win. Like, say, capturing an enemy Stan that lives in reflections on a single coin, or sucking up the living fog of another stand. The OVA is no slouch in showing that the heroes aren't just a bunch of muscleheads. However, there is a bit lost in the adaptation, though, owing to the nature of production. Stardust Crusaders is 152 chapters long, much of it being battle after battle between JoJo's group and the enemy Stan users, of all shapes, sizes, and skill. The OVA removes, well, most of them, concentrating on some of the more important ones that move the plot. And in the case of this OVA from 2000, the ones involved in Polnareff's quest for revenge. Most of the 7-episode run revolves around Polnareff seeking out the Stan user with two right hands, the man who violated and murdered his sister, Jay Guile. He's paired up with my favorite villain in these episodes, Whole Horse, the cowboy ladies man who prefers a tag team match.
Hey, Polnareff, you ever heard of that game called Soldier's Chess?
Soldier's Chess?
The tank is stronger than the soldier, but weaker than the mind. Anyway, it's a game based on the fundamental principles of battle and such. In the case of Whole Horse's Emperor and you, well, the rules of Soldier's Chess apply perfectly, you see. That is, the gun's mightier than the sword, my friend.
Polnareff and Kakyoin take them on, but the former is targeted by his enemy's mother, Enya, soon after. Polnareff is kind of Fate's chew toy. And with so much of the plot involving him, it's almost like they could have called this Polnareff's Bizarre Adventure. Especially since, frankly, JoJo doesn't do a whole lot. He does uncover Enya's deceit, though.
By the way, how do you know Polnareff?
Earlier, he came to my rescue when a drunkard was having trouble keeping his hands to himself, Mr. Jotaro.
I see. Let me ask you one more thing. Just now you called me Jotaro, but how do you know my name?
Mr. Polnareff told me.
That can't be. I told everyone not to mention my name. Naturally, that includes Polnareff, too.
Well, the killer of my dearest son, Jay Guile, was to be disposed of first. But I suppose that can wait.
Your son?
Die!
I suppose it's useless to ask why Dio's minions don't all attack at once, right? Shonen manga rules. Plus, I guess I could see some of these stands tripping over each other if they were all summoned at once. But they could at least team up a little more instead of this fighting game story mode stuff. In the TV series, it comes off as being very monster of the week. And I've ended up wanting to just get to the point of the plot already. But there is one thing that the manga and the TV show have in spades over the OVA, and that's colorful characterization. As I said previously, there's really not a whole lot to JoJo himself in this. He's not the most exciting character in the manga either, but what precious few characteristics he shows are downplayed here. And Joseph is really watered down in the OVA, when he's one of the most animated, interesting characters in the franchise. While the plot is condensed pretty reasonably, it means removing encounters with stand users that would bring out more of the character's quirks. The OVA is very much the Polnareff show. There are some advantages to the pairing and condensing, which is that events have a more theatrical, big-scale feeling to them, especially that final battle with Enya, which is much more dramatic here. I didn't get impatient with the plot like I sometimes do watching the TV series. So, both versions have their advantages and disadvantages. I think I prefer the TV show's approach overall, but it's so long. I wish there was a version somewhere between the two. But the OVA isn't bad. I rather enjoy the experience, and I'm not even done with this story yet. Oh, and then there's the music bit. Not the music of the OVA itself, mind you, that's mostly forgettable. No, I mean the references. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a love letter to music and musicians. Many of the characters and their stands are named after musicians, songs, and albums, especially in later parts. But there are characters named after Ronnie Dio, Paula Abdul, Mikhail Polnareff, Enya, and others. The TV series even features music by Yes and the Bangles. This actually makes it tricky to release over here since there's legal tangles, but somehow they managed to do just that with some name changes. You'll even get to see it on the revived Toonami block. I wonder what my stand would be like, or what it would be named. Black Hole Sun, Electric Light Orchestra, Purple Rain, Across the Universe, Tears for Fears. I don't know. I'd like to have a stand that makes people want to donate to my Patreon. You know, stands kind of remind me of the concept of thought forms or thought beings. Entities that are willed into existence. What's the name of those things again? You! You're a tulpa.